While the American dream for so long has been built into the story of America, few have sought to question whether the dream is a healthy and attainable dream for our country to believe in today. The American dream arose out of the idyllic and utopian stories of America. It quickly spread as a source of hope amidst a time of war and difficulties. The idyllic story of the dream has become more inflated and focused on monetary success ever since. Yet the idea that every American has an equal opportunity to move up in life is false. Social mobility has declined over the past decades, median wages have stagnated, and today's young generation is the first in modern history expected to be poorer than their parents. The lottery of life, the postcode where you were born, can account for up to 2/3 of the wealth an individual generates. The growing gap between the rich and the poor, the old and the young, has been largely ignored by policymakers and investors until the recent rise of anti-establishment votes, including those for Brexit in the UK and for President Trump in the US. This is a mistake. Inequality is much more than a side effect of free market capitalism. It is a symptom of policy negligence, where for decades, credit and monetary stimulus shortcuts too easily substituted for structural reform, investment and economic strategy. Capitalism has been incredibly successful at boosting wealth, but it has failed at redistributing it. Today, without a push to redistribute wealth and opportunity, our model of capitalism and democracy may face self-destruction. Many families are struggling to make ends meet. Inflation and wage stagnation have made it increasingly difficult for everyday Americans to keep up with the rising costs of necessities such as housing, gas, healthcare, and food as the cost of living continues to rise in America. For most Americans, the cost of housing is by far the largest expense in any given month. Homelessness in America is a national crisis, and all too pervasive in California, where an estimated 171,000 people, or 30% of all homeless people in the U.S. It is not groundbreaking news that the state's exorbitant housing costs are a major driver behind homelessness, but researchers at the UCSF's Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative hope that the study will strengthen public support for policies that focus on offering housing and emergency rental assistance, rather than policies emphasizing punishment or stigma. People are homeless because their rent is too high. And their options are too few. And they have no cushion, said Dr. Margot Kuschel, Initiative Director and Lead Investigator. And it really makes you wonder how different things would look if we could solve that underlying problem. Kuschel's team surveyed nearly 3,200 adults around California, and followed up to conduct in-depth interviews with 365 people, between October 2021 and November 2022. Same thing in New York City, homelessness and hunger are an ongoing crisis. Even before the onset of COVID-19, over 1 million New Yorkers lived one personal crisis away from homelessness. Faced with an extraordinarily high cost of living, lack of affordable housing, and shortage of living wage jobs, New Yorkers living below the poverty line included nearly 1 in 5 adult residents, or 1.2 million people. Now, the pandemic and resulting economic downturn have exacerbated income inequality in the city. Low-income New Yorkers have been hit hardest by COVID-19-related job losses and pay cuts, forcing many to make the difficult choice between paying for rent or paying for groceries.